I wanted everybody who comes in to have this sense of, you know, a limit, a limited accessibility, you know, like that you notice that there's this, enclosure. And is it a ruin? Is it a blueprint? Is it a foundation? I mean, it's all of those things. Is it a room? Is it a city? I started out thinking about clay because of this ceramics fellowship, you know, things that are pulled out of the ground. And this extends to brick, concrete, the porcelain that's there. So these are kind of stones and stone products. Thinking about clay got me thinking about the earth. That's, you know, the earth, the ground, and what's taken out, you know, extracted. When you think about the ground, then you have to think about the enclosure and the border, because that's what land means, it's the nation state. My experience of growing up in England is that, you know, you don't have to walk very far before you hit the private sign, before you hit the wall, the gate, the threshold. So the message is consistently, this is not your land. It'll never be your land. You're not permitted to love it, and you don't have to be responsible for it. I was very preoccupied with the idea of counting and accounting. There's this red vinyl that repeats throughout. I was trying to make something that was somewhere between a script, like writing, and numbers. And I'm not thinking about finance so much as I'm thinking about the toll, you know, the death toll, or what accretes and builds up. There's unspeakable violence in the privatization of literally everything in the UK. It's unbelievably violent to me, and every time I come back, I'm like, whoa, you know, it strikes me deeper. The border begins at the threshold of the, you know, family home, the sort of white nuclear family. It's the policing then of the body. It's a protest show. It's like, I'd say it's political works full of anger and grief, but you can't get angry and sad unless you care about something. And there's also the fact that it's not always ugly and unsafe. The whole thing is playing with different kinds of institutions and different kinds of institutionality. Also the institution of the family, the institution of labour as it once existed. Because I was reading about mining and the history of mining lore, like the spirits of the mines and or the identities. I mean, we say identity nowadays, somebody's talking about like who you sleep with or whatever. But identity was really large part tied up with labour, in which it isn't anymore. And that is, of course, I think something that is, for better or worse, a source of cultural grief and confusion. And for me, those hammers talk a little bit about, you know, gendered labour. There's two different kinds of gendered labour happening in that show. You know, one is gestational, one is like manual. And so I wanted to, in a loving kind of way, satirise that longing for, you know, time when men were men and work was work. But I recognise it as well as a longing, and you know, all feelings are legit. You know, I also wanted to gently poke at that as one of like the contemporary identitarians that I am. You know, and maybe sort of in a loving way, like you would be ribbing your grandpa, but also as a part of me. I'm also that guy in some way, ancestrally, and you know, whatever, I'm 40 years old, also a white guy. I'm always critical, yeah. Like I say, what was it? Nietzsche said, and, you know, screw Nietzsche, but this is a good quote. Sometimes when he's right, he's right. He said, I love the great despisers, for they are the great adorers. They are arrows of longing for the other shore. And I thought, exactly. You know, the haters are the biggest admirers in a way. Well, anyway, complicated, but it is ambivalent. It's an ambivalent, loving, angry satire, which is also very serious and not at all a joke.